Hi everyone, it's John Willis, and today we'll be talking about the Grass Valley K-frame. Today I think we should talk about user setups, and there are two kinds of user setups: panel preferences and suite preferences. I'm using the K-frame X simulator, so you can see that this menu looks just like that. What do they hold? Well, looking at this menu, you can see there are 8 options within the panel preferences. The first one we've spoken about before, button mapping. This allows you to put any logical or fixed source, in other words, a source that you've made or a source that the mixer owns, on any button. Don't forget to choose the correct size panel. Panel color scheme allows you to decide how your buttons are colored. The opal option turns all buttons white, except those which have on-air sources which stay scarlet red. Tinted retains that opal look, but colors up the keyer lines to make sure that you can see which keyer you're controlling. Rainbow colors every single program line of a MixFX bank to tell you which one it is. And you can see the choices are ME1 is green, ME2 is yellow, ME3 is orange, ME4 is magenta, and program is red. That's the default. Source colors allows you to color a source the same on every MixFX bank. So for instance, in my setup, I have a video replay machine called Red. It would be very tempting to make that colored red everywhere, and that's exactly what you can do. Macro emem start number defines what the left-hand macro on every stripe of the mixer will be. Moving down the panel, stripe 1 is the top one, 2, 3, and 4 is the bottom one, and you can see that I've set it so that macro 1 is on row 1, and row 2 is macro 33. That's a very common way to make things work. Depot preferences are very powerful, and that's why I always come to this menu just to check. I want to see no action anywhere by default. By that I mean, for instance, I could select Program Preset Row B and tell it that when I depop it, press the button twice within a second, it switches to the video processing menu. Maybe useful, maybe not, but it could be quite unexpected. Shift preferences, there are 2 preferences really, auto latch and manual latch. And in general, everything's shipped in manual latch. What that means is that if you hold down, for instance, the second button on the panel or at the end of the source select area, the OLEDs within the MixFX bank stripe you've chosen will show you the name of the sources on second level. In other words, the OLEDs don't lie. When you release the shift button, the OLEDs flip back showing you the unshifted preference, because again, that's what would happen if you pressed a button. They'd take the unshifted layer. I would always stay in manual latch. If you want to try auto latch, don't forget it takes 2 hands to get back out of shift. Panel user interactions. These are the complex ones for the Kayenne control panel, but notice the center column. This is quite important. Transition preview auto off. Transition cut left and cut right. No real right answer here, I guess. But if you do change the selection, don't forget to move the button. It'll drive the next user absolutely mad when it doesn't work as they expect it to. Aux bus delegate mapping allows you to decide which of the aux bus control panel buttons controls which aux bus and give each of those aux buses a name without ever entering engineering territory. Suite preferences. These are the choices. First of all, suite resources. Aux bus transitions. Are you releasing a portion of a MixFX bank to make aux bus transitions? Signal suite type, are you in standard dynamic range or any of the high dynamic range versions? Color space and bit depth. Re-entry enable prevents the re-entry of a MixFX bank into itself. Emem preferences allows you to map the internal resources of the mixer to top level buttons on the control panel. Source patch is where you can rename sources without using the engineering level, and even substitute engineering sources within logical IDs within a show on the fly. Source correction enables on a source by source basis the use of the video processing engines. Preview preferences is where you can choose the shape of the safe area on each of the MixFX bank preview outputs or switched preview. If you have the MeView option within your mixer, this is where you choose the layout of that output. If you have the multi-viewer option, this is where you set the layout for each of the 4 heads. GPI inputs, where you decide what an input will do, whether it's not being used at all, recalling a macro, recalling an enum, and so on, as you would expect. Image store options is really to do with audio. Do the image stores use audio or not? So for each image store, I can decide which AES group is recorded and played back from that system. Transition chaining is the way to tie key transitions together. For instance, key 1 and key 2 of program preset would now go on and off together. Don't forget to release them afterwards. And this is the big check. When you look inside here, make sure that for a standard show, there are no background or key chains. Now let's restore our show again and create. Notice that inside the stories list, suite preferences are being saved. And now let's make sure that what I've got saved is what I want. What I'm going to do is drop into panel preferences, for instance, and alter panel user interactions and put the cut, write, and frames options into operation. In suite preferences, I'm going to put in keychains a big pile of keychains that I don't want to see on. And now I'm going to load only the suite and panel preferences. The way to do that is to go into file operations, point to user setups, point to the show you want to load from, panel preferences, load. I'm going to go to suite preferences, point to the same show, and there they are now loaded. When I go back to my user setups, panel preferences, cut left and time, suite preferences, no keychains. That all worked. So now I'm making quite a useful show file, and that's how we'll continue. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.